Bench Opinions. 3 idiots with amateur analysis.
Is there anything better than scratching your eyes? I know, or like rubbing your eyes. I know it's not healthy and you're not supposed to do it, but there's like something that is almost like a mini orgasm that you fucking, it's so good.
It's good. There's a few things.
Yeah.
Like when you're really thirsty. And you just gulp water. It's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Welcome to, as you can tell, the leftovers episode when we have to figure out what else we want to talk about. You've hopefully seen the rugby episode this week already, as well as the football episode, and now here we are with the leftovers episode to talk about all the rest of the beautiful things that happen in the sporting world.
The most beautiful thing.
And today is going to be very golf heavy, so apologies in advance if you don't like golf. It's never too late to pick up a club. That's all I'm saying.
I've never heard anyone who's started golf and who's said, especially now when you get a bit older, who's said, it's just not for me.
You hit one good shot and that's it.
Yeah.
One good strike.
Especially if you have a good group of mates that also play. Yeah. That's, I think, what makes it really, really fun. If you're alone and you're picking up the game and you're just sort of always paired with strangers, it can still be fun, but it's definitely not the same as sort of, because it's just an excuse to hang out with your friends.
100%. I agree.
Competitive.
Exactly. On that subject, both of us playing some high-level competitive golf. Over last weekend. No, we both played for our lovely little golf club called Golfinval.
Yeah. You on the Friday, me on the Sunday.
Exactly.
Same course.
Kurs Kienitz out here in Berlin.
Different tees, I will say.
It is different tees.
I played the back tees.
We'll talk through the different formats. Yeah. The format I played is called the Challenge. It's like a private league that's organized. More of the sort of higher handicap guys play because it's generally a stable fit format. And then you have the official DGL, which is the German Golf League, which is the kind of the very official one.
It's metal.
Yeah, it's you play.
You can't pick up.
You play, it's metal. You can't pick up. You play off the tips. And Maxi decided to do that to himself, and I decided to do the better ball stable fit version.
Yeah.
How'd you go? Well, tell us about your experience.
So it's off the tips, which is really long. It's extremely dry, but it was. The problem with this kind of golf is because you're playing with amateurs and let's be honest, like none of us are that great, and the ball goes offline now and then. If you hit the ball into the rough, or like it's heading to the rough and you can't see it land, you're hitting provisionals a lot because you're just not sure, and you don't want to get up there and not find it and have to run back to where you've hit your original shot, drop and hit again. So you're searching a lot, you're hitting a lot of golf shots, and I was paired with 2 guys, it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. I was looking for 2 balls on the first hole for as long as you're legally permitted to. Then the one guy hit the wrong ball on the fairway, then you're still trying to concentrate on your own game.
Yeah.
Then I proceeded to make a 6 on a par 3 after that, but then we were in it, and then we were rolling, and then up until the second last hole, I was actually going quite nicely, and then I alluded to it in the football episode. I made a succession of some of the most unintelligent decisions I've ever made in my life. So the whole day I hadn't hit driver because it wasn't necessary, and I got to a par 5, and I said,
Here's the one.
I haven't hit driver the whole day, and obviously I hooked that thing so far left that it went out of bounds. So
pretty much, I know this hole. It's the one and only place
you can't miss.
You have the whole of Earth is on your right hand side, which is where I proceeded to go on Friday. But yes, carry on.
There's also something about like I don't like just pull it. When I hook it,
oh yeah, you do. You like
I don't know what that golf swing must look like, but if I ever take a slow-mo video of it, it must look absolutely fucking shocking.
Yeah.
So it goes OB. I had a very good second tee shot off the tee. That's obviously my third, and I'm now 210 meters from the green. And in my head, I say, right, if I get on in 2 here, I can still sort of save a decent score on this hole. Make maybe par, maybe bogey.
Yeah.
It's 210 meters. There's water in front of the green and all the way along the right of the green.
Beautiful golf hole, actually.
Beautiful golf hole. And the left of the green is just, there's 2 bunkers next to it.
Yeah, and like a little like off-ramp, it looks like,
an
of
off-ramp
like fairway.
with a tree in front of it.
Yeah.
So I think any sane person would look at that and say, yeah, this is not the hole to attack because
damage limitation.
There's no way to miss. So I hit my first one, faded right. Can't see it drop into the water, so I have to hit another one. I don't decide to lay up then either. I hit another one.
Oh my God.
This one goes into the water. Now I'm not even counting anymore. Now
you just like, you want to get off this.
I'm just rattled. So I have to get, I'm behind the water now. It's me, the water, the pin, And the first one, I get completely underneath it, and it just drops into the middle of the lake. And then you look over at your playing partners, and there's this sort of, no one wants to say anything, but everyone's sort of like looking down. It's like a little bit like a car crash. It's like fucking... And instead of just taking a minute and just assessing what I'm doing, I just drop another one and hit it straight in the water again.
Jesus.
Now panic is starting to kick in, because now I'm legitimately like, what if I never get over this water? Because you can't pick up. In any normal game of golf, you just pick up and you just say, listen, I'm out of this hole.
Once you hit the second one in the water, you're like, I'm done.
I just need to fucking mentally regroup, but you can't. You're still in it. And I'm in the rough, so I can't putt it around the water either, which would have definitely been a consideration I would have made.
Yeah.
But then I ended up chipping along the edge of the water just to get all the way to the green, and then 2-putt for a 14.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. We had very contrasting fortunes on that hole.
Yeah. I will say that at the end, I just sort of, I asked the one guy, I hope you counted, because I can't count. I don't know now, having retold that story, if 14 is right.
Yeah.
But it's what I took.
Feels like a 14. Yeah. Wow.
And then on the last hole, which was a par 3, I made a 7.
Wow. That's a bit of a collapse.
It was a fucking monumental collapse.
Wow. Yeah. I had very different fortunes. I hit my second 7-iron on the green and 2-putted for birdie. different story. Have to say though, it is a very different game when you're playing medal. And next week I get to find out what it feels like, because I haven't done it in a while. The last time I did play for the team in that league, I tend to not do it, because how long did it take you to play that round of golf?
It took us 7 hours and 20 minutes.
Exactly. So usually I do try not do that to myself, but because we're playing almost in Poland next week, I was like, let me do it for the team.
It's a very interesting strategy, because in the end, it's actually just about keeping the ball straight in front of you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, whatever you score, you score. But if you keep those big things off the scorecard and you come in with an 85 or something like that, you're actually doing okay.
But you highlighted it. It's not so much, it's the decisions you make after hitting it out of bounds, or after making a mistake that makes... Yeah. Any other observations? I made a few observations just in amateur golf. Is the first thing... push carts are a fallacy. They slow down everything. But these guys are old. They think they have the... You know how, as the only person carrying in the group, how many golf balls are found?
Yeah.
And how often I would be like, guys, you're not that far back. You're further forward. Walk forward. They would then leave their push cart,
bags all the way
walk
at the back
over
there.
to their golf ball, realize it's theirs and go, oh, cool. So, I mean, we didn't wait at all on Friday, and we still took 6 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's also a bit of course management, you know? Like people don't keep an eye on where their ball goes into the rough. Like they sort of hit it into the rough, and then they're like, oh, it's in the rough.
Yeah.
But they just keep an eye on where it goes down, put a marker down somewhere.
100%.
And then, I mean, this is also just basic geometry. If you can't go into the rough with your trolley, you walk along the line of the rough till the point where you
Pythagoras,
think it's in,
bro.
And then you cross in there.
100%.
You don't leave your cart at the back here and then just start walking.
Yeah.
And
then another observation, a weird thing happened to me. So we were playing, my partner struggled a little bit in the better ball format. So we play a par 5. I end up losing my second shot, so I was kind of out of it. But we really needed, we started terribly, so we were starting to come back. I just made birdie on the par 4 previously to get us 4 points. And then we were playing this par 5, and I messed up a little bit, and I really needed him to do something. And he had like a 25-footer for bogey, and he drains it.
Okay.
And we get super pumped. I mean, I was worried about his blood pressure for a second there, but we're stoked and everyone's happy, and I'm always anyway hard on the sleeve. I'm pumped. So I can already see the one playing partner we had was more of a sort of withheld German. His name was Marcus. Just, he was kind of like, I'm just here to play a bit of golf,
All right.
A bit strange guy, but very nice, but very weird. And then we go to the next, which is a par 3 down the hill. I hit an 8-iron to about 2 meters short of the green. Very nice shot. I just didn't quite have the right club. Step up to the ball. I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good about this. And I chip in.
Okay.
And again, the first bump comes out. I think I even said the word ding dong or something like that, I just went full retard. And he walks up to the pin in the aftermath of this, and like rips the pin out, and my ball goes flying, and seemed genuinely upset.
All right.
Even maybe jealous at my exploits.
So do you think that he was competitive and he was like, damn, these guys are catching up? Or do you think that he was like, this kind of behavior does not belong on the golf course?
I think it was a very good 50-50 mix of both.
Right.
I think he was just like, this is just... I think he was he was confronted by behavior and possibly even some shots that he very rarely sees, and he was just like, this is unbelievable. And also previously, also to the birdie I'd made, there was a short par 4, you can hit it over the trees. It's about 270 meters to the green, and I hit a great tee shot, but you're blind until you get up. And I was like, I haven't seen my ball yet. As I get over to the hill, my ball's like 2 meters just off the green, pin high.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that's my ball. And this guy refused to accept that was my ball. He's like, that's not a ball. It's a flower. It's a flower. And he's like, no. Look, there in the bunker, there's a ball. There is in the bunker. And I was like, dude, we're all just mates here. And I killed him with kindness. I praised him all day. He didn't know what to do with that either.
Yeah.
But
great attitude, man.
Some interesting mix. You get confronted by an interesting mix of people.
As soon as I looked at my starting sheet, I saw there was a Dr. Med something on my thing, and I thought,
here we go.
There's about an 85% chance that this guy's going to be a dickhead.
And?
I mean, he was dickhead adjacent.
He was a dickhead.
Dickhead adjacent, I would say. The other guy that was playing with us, he was just a bit flustered, and he kept hooking it left and stuff like that. And every time, like, he'd hit his provisional shot, this guy would be like, "Oh, you hit it left again." And I was like, "Dude, he's not trying to do this."
Yeah, no. That's when you turn around. You need to say something like, "Oh, I didn't realize you work for Sky Sports." Thank you. But
it just turned out, he was just also so upset with himself because he was playing terribly. But I just found it ironic that someone. Actually, I didn't find it ironic. I mean, I knew from the start that he was going to be a dick, and he was. And in the end, I still beat him with my 14 and a 7 and a 6, which I think.
Yeah, there were some cricket scores on that score sheet.
There was, yeah. I mean, I was almost at a century.
But that's what happens. But as you said, that's what happens. That if you finish with a quadruple and I don't even know what the term is for 14.
I think you just call it a 14.
Octuple. No, whatever. But yeah, good. It was good to get out there. I like the competitive element of it when it actually means something.
We might sprinkle a bit more of our own golf exploits into these leftover episodes because Dom and I are actually also going on a very exciting golf tour in Scotland in July, playing 8 courses in 4 days. So we'll report more on that then. Should we switch over to the pros, though?
The real golfers.
Yeah. The PGA Championship is around the corner, starting on Thursday, Quail Hollow.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
This is one of those. It's one of those majors now that is. I don't think we've had in a while. There's a lot of really good golfers finding really good form. Yeah. Shane Lowry pushed Straka close. Straka looks great.
Straka's doing very well.
Won his second title this year. Difficult to go back to back, I think, but hey, he'll feel good. Justin Thomas looks incredible. He seems to just be building that momentum. Yeah, PGA. Rory is definitely in with the shout, and
Rory and Scheffler, I think, are always going to be up there.
Yeah.
Someone like Jordan Spieth is actually also quietly just going about his business.
Exactly.
And like a storyline that's gone a little bit under the radar for some is that he only needs the PGA to complete the career slam.
It was funny. I saw a quote. So apparently Rory and Spieth were talking, and Spieth congratulated Rory on his career Grand Slam, and then Spieth, and then Rory said, "No, you're up next, man." And then Spieth was like, "Yeah, sure, at McElroy Country Club."
Yeah.
So Rory loves Quail Hollow as well. He's won there before.
I think that's what tilts it sort of slightly in Rory's favor, especially from the bookies side. But I think so. After the Masters, Rory said there's a weight that's lifted off his shoulders and he just sort of can play a little bit more freely. And I do believe that because especially the media pressure is off. But I think a lot of golf fans and some pundits sort of said, oh, he's going to win everything now. But one mustn't forget winning any golf competition on the PGA Tour and a major is still incredibly difficult because who you're coming up against as opponents and what you're coming up against in terms of the golf course is incredibly difficult.
I think the major difference now for Rory is he's always been so good at putting himself in the mix.
Yeah.
And in the past, I think you could argue that the pressure then was a telling factor. And I think I don't see why he wouldn't keep putting himself in the mix. And I think that makes him a different animal now because there's so much less on the line in inverted commas for him now than there was before. And Rory's all-round game, the fact that he's one of the longest hitters on tour, the fact that he can pull shots, he's a great shot maker as well. I think just that fact is that he's got everything it takes to win major tournaments. And let's see. Scheffler seems to have settled any doubts around himself winning a couple weeks ago because the temper return and all this nonsense, but he's so good. So yeah, it's going to be a heavyweight fight, and you look, DeChambeau is back in the mix again as well.
You'd hope it was.
Yeah.
I'd be very disappointed if, and I mean no offense to them, if some
fucking Lucas Glover,
if some Brian Harmon just streaks through the middle and takes this tournament, because golf is currently riding a wave because the big guys are winning. They're winning the small tournaments, they're winning the big tournaments, and Seb Strucker's a big guy. He plays in the Ryder Cup, and he fights Lowry for that tournament. Justin Thomas is up there.
Yeah.
Lowry sort of threw it away a little bit coming down the stretch with 2 bogeys in the last 3 holes.
Yeah.
He was visibly distraught, but he still congratulated Strucker. What do you make of the thing that's come up, I guess, over the last few months? And it started with Colin Morikawa, who refused to do an interview after a round once, and then said, we're not contractually obliged to come talk to you. In the NBA and in other sports that he referred to, and I guess it's the same in the Premier League, there's contractual obligations that if you get told by your club, please go do the interview, you're contractually obliged to do that. Whereas you have to look at golfers more like freelancers in that sense. They're not employed by the league. They don't have to do it. Where do you stand on that? Do you think golfers should face the media right after a round, or do you think that they should be entitled to just say, I'm just not in the headspace to talk to the media right now?
Yeah, I think they should be entitled to do it. I think the concern there is the precedent that it sets, because I think once you start saying no, how many guys are going to start saying no?
Yeah.
And how quickly does it get to the point where like they're just like off limits because they're like, I don't feel like doing it. I think there's definitely a reciprocal responsibility on the side of the golfers, because they get a lot from the media.
Absolutely.
And they, you can't just receive. You gotta reciprocate. So, and I think the fans want to hear from them. I do think I think the media should be maybe a little bit wiser, and maybe the approach of how you communicate. Collins had a really bad round. Can you just give him 20 minutes?
Right.
I think that should be a space within which you can work. But I also think it's naive to think that every time you have a bad round, it's okay to just say screw the media.
No, absolutely not. I think it's just, what is there to say? Let's say you've thrown away a lead and lost a tournament, and you come off the course. You know that a few of those journalists, probably the majority of them, are trying to get headlines, and they're going to ask some, in inverted commas, really dumb questions, like, what happened there?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I mean,
yeah.
You're dealing with a lot emotionally right now, especially when it's about that much money, and these guys are obviously like they're professional athletes who are, I guess, a different breed of mentality. And when they fail, professional athletes hate to lose, or I guess most of them do. That's why they're professional athletes.
Of course, yeah.
And some of the questions I find in the media just, one, aren't creative enough, aren't they not deep enough, and they're not sort of always like, it's just headline grabbing sort of nonsense sometimes, which as a fan I'm not interested in reading either.
Yeah, I think it's just a low hanging fruit. I don't think it's any sort of kind of like mature, advanced form of journalism. So I get that as well. I think it's so easy to just go, so you 3-putted, tell us about it,
like, are you worried about your career now that you've thrown like 3 leads away? That's not the first thing you want to hear after a tournament.
But I think the whole contractually bound thing by Colin, I don't know if that passes as an argument. I think it's a good way of saying, hey, listen, just remember, I don't have to do it. But I think there's maybe not a legal obligation, but there's like
it's like an unspoken sort of like
responsibility. It's you have to understand where your bread is buttered, and your bread is buttered because golf is one of the biggest sports in the world.
Yeah.
And people are paying a lot of money to see you, sponsor you.
Yeah.
And I think therefore you have to understand that.
I suppose the problem with the way this has been handled, and especially with the comments that Colin made, it has now become a thing. Whenever a guy skips one, they're like, oh, now it's becoming precedent. If he'd just sort of gone about it and been like, yeah, sorry, just wasn't feeling up for it. He made a sort of a thing of like,
I don't really have to do
I don't
this.
have to be here, yeah. Now it's sort of like, oh, it's players versus media after a bad round. So
I think it's weirdly though, I think it's a good way for the very charismatic good dudes to actually see it as an opportunity and say, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to just be the kind of person that people relate to. So yeah,
absolutely. There was something mentioned, and I can't remember who said it, but it was about length of golf courses. So they played at the Philadelphia Cricket Club,
beautiful golf course
at the Truist.
Wow.
This week, and it's noticeably shorter than Quail Hollow is. And I think it was David Howell, maybe, who said excuse me, that a course like that really sort of challenges golfers in hitting different shots. You know, people are hitting different shots off the tee. They're faced with different shots off the fairways, and it should sort of pits golfers against each other in a different format. Where he says Quail Hollow is more of a, you're going to see most players in the same sort of area on the fairway. You're going to see them miss in the same areas, and it becomes very much a sort of who's better on the day.
Yeah, point and shoot. Yeah,
point and shoot kind of course.
Yeah. So funny enough, after Scotty ripped that course to shreds, there was a lot of voices outside from the tour saying, "Hey, we actually want more East Coast golf." Yeah. And there's various reasons for that, but predominantly the first reason is that a lot of the golf courses are much older. Yeah. So the design elements are way more strategic in nature than the modern golf course. Modern golf courses are generally sort of just done using penal design strategies. So we put bunkers. If you don't hit a good shot, you're in the bunker. Which obviously, if you look at that in the context of these pros who don't miss, you're going to get stupidly low scores. So there's been a call from a lot of people on the tour saying now, hey, we want to be on the East Coast more. So there's older golf courses, design changes, there's more history at the clubs, as well as the weather generally is way more unpredictable. And we saw it this week at the Truist as well. Saturday was a really tough day for the players, a lot of wind. So I'm interested to see if they heed that. But the problem is, you know, for a tour, it's amazing to be able to just play in places like Florida and play in places like California and Texas, because you guaranteed good weather. The crowds are going to come out. But yeah, interesting that that's a conversation now. And I think within the context of the ball rollback possibly happening soon and everything, I'm totally on board with that. I would prefer a golf course where guys have to try and find a way to get around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a little bit of criticism about Quail Hollow hosting this year at the PGA, especially if you look at the three other courses hosting majors this year. They're sort of really showstopper courses. Quail Hollow sort of drops out of that. Rory favored to win this week. Other than that, on the PGA, anything more to add?
Not at the moment. And one last interesting thing that Rory came out and said this week, a journalist asked him, now this is a good question. He was like, do you think your golf has gotten better since you've stopped caring about the golf politics and everything going on in the golf world with Liv? And he said, yeah, I don't care anymore. So that's an interesting one as well.
And he shouldn't. It shouldn't be up to him. He should just go about his business.
So yeah, it looks like Rory. Look, I would put $20 on Rory to win this week for sure.
Yeah. One more thing which I think is interesting to mention. Have you seen that internet invitational that's been created between Bob Does Sports and Barstool Sports?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how something like that, because it's supposed to be a recurring event where the biggest players in the YouTube space, some celebrity golfers, sort of meet up and play tournaments. How that matches up to Liv, because Liv's ratings are often in the media because they're poor and they might be regressing a little bit. And Liv was supposed to be the answer to the very classic hoity-toity PGA Tour down the middle golf. It could be that we're witnessing, and I mean, we're very early down the line, that this sort of tournament with the Internet Invitational Series is actually the alternative to normal competitive PGA Tour golf, where you've got your professionals who I think everyone will keep watching because it's the best people who play that game. And then you've got the entertaining ones who sort of play at a decent level but are very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, golf's big personalities,
Because I think the big problem with the Liv Tour was they went for a personality type tour where they relied on people to be great characters and for everything around to be a bit more fun, but a lot of them just aren't.
I think the challenge for this Internet Invitational and the whole YouTube thing is, how do you make it unique to or what you're doing already on YouTube? Because if it's just a long format tournament, that's exactly how YouTube is. I struggle to understand how they really establish it. I think if what they need to try and do is really fill the gap, and that's make it strangely competitive. I want to see someone coming down the stretch like Fat Perez and I don't know, Joey Coldcuts coming down the stretch, playing off their various handicaps, playing for this title. that's good. That's good television, and that's different
Yeah.
to what's already on YouTube. And I think that's going to be the key, because I'm not going to, these guys all work together. They all do videos together.
Yeah.
It's always on demand. I can go on YouTube. I can
Yeah.
watch whatever I
No,
want.
for sure.
If I'm going to tune into it live, obviously the celebrity element's going to be major. It's going to draw a lot of people and a lot of viewers. But if they can get it right to make it real tournament vibes, and that's what you see at the Dunhill for the last I don't know how many years, decades. The Dunhill Links Championship is a tournament where celebrities play in the pro-am, and they're playing with the pros, going down on a Sunday. It's all televised. You've got Samuel L. Jackson making putts. You've got that's and they actually care. That's going to be the key.
That's big. Yeah, it is big. I think and one big difference to what has happened in the YouTube space until now, because there has been sort of competitions where people have come together and a lot of different creators have been there and celebrities, is that they're playing for a little bit more than $1 million, which is unreal.
Yeah, and that makes
in that space.
That'll add to the competitiveness.
That adds to the competitiveness. And then there's rumors that it's going to also be more of a it's not just the golf that's going to be part of the content, because they're all they're up at Cedar Lakes. They're in this big resort that it sort of almost mixes not reality TV, but sort of films off the course stuff as well, which adds a little bit more to I guess the entertainment factor of it all.
Yeah,
be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll definitely report back on that.
Yeah.
That's
at the end of the year.
That last point that you mentioned now concerns me a little bit, but we'll see.
We'll see how it turns out. I think quick little tilt of the cap to the South African athletics team.
Yeah,
I think we won the 4x100 meter relay.
The world relay meet. World leading time. Simbini
came from behind and stormed down the 100.
Yeah, our 4x400 team doing quite well as well. Our ladies 4x100 doing quite well. So good signs there.
Yeah. Actually, when I was in South Africa last, I mentioned it to you already. There's a school in Stellenbosch High School, which is sponsored by Gerda Steyn and one other lady, and they've actually pumped a lot of money into making Stellenbosch High the hub of athletics in South Africa, which I think is massive for athletics in South Africa, because what we have in rugby is a very competitive school system that pumps out athletes.
Yeah.
And if you've got 1, 2, or maybe 3 schools in South Africa that also focuses on athletics, you're going to get a lot more athletes that can compete.
And there's a vacuum, because any Olympic dominant sports in South Africa, the athletes really struggle to get funding and everything. So if you can get elite training into these schools and help these kids get to the point where, even if it just means that a lot of them head into college athletics and all of that kind of stuff, you're really making a difference.
Watch out, USA and China. We're coming for those medals.
100%. We need some more gymnasts first.